Okay, I'll try. Not that I have control over that. It is 8:37. Can we call this meeting to order? Um, Thank you for joining us today. I'd like to just make a few comments before we get going and acknowledge that it is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I'm wearing pink. I see Lisa is as well. I think this is a great opportunity to remind everybody how important screening is and to think of those families that have been affected by not just breast cancer, but all kinds of cancer. And I think it's a great opportunity to remember the research of somebody who is fundamental to our understanding of the transmission of cancers. And that is Mary Claire King, who was a researcher that in the 1970s, it was believed that it was a virus that led to breast cancer. And it was through her research that it was possible to discover that it's mainly something that's transmitted as a hereditary trait through families. And she was able to do this through funding and, federal funding that allowed this extensive 17-year research project that completely transformed our understanding of cancer and its transmission. So let's take a moment to acknowledge the incredible contributions that each of us can have as individuals, her perseverance and persistence, and how she has helped improve the lives of so many families, and take a moment to think about those families that have been affected. And I think I would remiss if I didn't also mention, before we take a moment of silence, to acknowledge all of the people who have been affected by the government shutdown that's currently happening, and all of those people who have been furloughed. Government affects every aspect of our life. We're volunteers in local city government, and it really is the system that's all-encompassing. So let's think about the role of Mary Claire King, all of the families that have been affected by cancer, and all of the families that are currently affected by the furlough, whose paychecks have been affected and are still going to work anyway because they provide critical duties, and take a moment to thank all of these people for their contributions and their sacrifices. Thank you. Lisa, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Chair, I just want to establish quorum.
We do have quorum, yes. And bear with me, this is my first time having to ever chair this board, a public hearing, so be a little patient with me, please. I'm a little nervous.
At this time, the PSB will approve consent agenda items 1 through 6.
Motion?
I'll move. Second.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Regular agenda item number 7, CEO monthly update regarding utility management and operations. EP Water leadership announcements. Jeff Tepsick, Chief Financial Officer. Utility of the Future Award, Water Environmental Federation's Technical Exhibition and Conference. Gilbert Trejo recognized with McDonald's Triunfadores Award in Government Services. Proposition 4 on the ballot for the November 4th, 2025 constitutional amendment election.
So, good morning, everybody. So first of all, we'd like to announce Jeff Tepsick's appointment as CFO. So we had a very extensive search. We used 2 different headhunting firms. We had people interviewed come in from out of town, and we selected Jeff Tepsick, a longtime Paso Water Utility employee, who's going to do great things for us. So thank you, Jeff. Okay, so next we have a kind of an interesting award. So the Water Environment Federation, which is the wastewater, the big wastewater trade group, the Water Research Foundation, the U.S. Water Alliance, Water Reuse Foundation, and NACWA together have this award for the water resources utility of the future. And so basically, the area of performance in this particular case is energy efficiency. And so in particular, what this is about is that we have a system that runs the entire water system. So every pump in the system, every well, every reservoir, all the different pieces are tied together into a central point, and then we have an operator there that runs the system. But behind the scenes, we have a piece of equipment and software that's constantly monitoring and running the system and simulating and providing assistance to the person that's there, and it can run the system, I'm going to use the word semi-automatically for much of the time. And so we've had it for probably more than 10 years, and every year we add more and more features to it, and we're encompassing more and more things to it. So with that, I'd like to invite Ramon Sanchez to come up from the Central Control and to accept the award. Here, if I could get you to come on up too. Ramon, come on right here. Yes. Thank you,
Again,
Christina.
for the lovely Gretchen, never can replace her.
Thank you. So Adam attended the actual event where the award was presented, so thank you, Adam. So next, yesterday we had the honor of attending this event for Gilbert, who is now officially a triunfador in El Paso, so congratulations, Gilbert, well deserved. Now, lastly, we have coming up in the November election, there's going to be a bunch of things, right? So from the standpoint of the water biz, the item of interest is proposition number 4, a constitutional amendment resulting from this House Joint Resolution 7 in the last session that would earmark $20 million investment for water projects over the next 20 years. And so it's a different pot of money than has been allocated before, and there's certain other things to it, but the big focus on this one is new water for the state of Texas. So not just developing existing resources and refining, it's new water for the state of Texas. So that is on the ballot. So for us as a utility, we cannot advocate for anyone to vote in a particular way, but we just wanted to educate people. That's what we can do. So it is a new supply fund, so it's in addition to everything that the Texas Water Development Board does already. It has a flood infrastructure, water conservation and mitigation. It has agricultural water conservation, and the money is going to be coming through a variety of programs. So we're hopeful for that to pass. And so this is the guidelines for our board and staff. We can provide factual, neutral information on the proposition. We can't urge passage or defeat. We can respond to media inquiries, but we cannot endorse or oppose the measure. And then we can provide education about what could be expected generally if the funding were allowed. So we will be doing some of this educational effort and responding to media inquiries about it as we get closer to the election.
Regular agenda item number 8, management report, construction update, McGregor Pump Station Project, capital improvements program update, construction manager at risk projects update, procurement card program overview, video from communications, pipes in progress, Yandell waterline replacement.
Good morning, Board. Adriana Castillo, Utility Engineering Division Manager. I'm going to present to you the awarded construction contracts for under $6 million. The strategic goal is infrastructure performance, and the purpose is to provide monthly updates for projects that have been awarded pursuant to the authorization given to the President and CEO for projects under 6 million. The current project is CSP 3425, McGregor Pump Station Reconstruction. This booster station will replace the existing McGregor booster station, which serves the McGregor Range. The booster station will be located in the northeast side of El Paso, adjacent to the Franklin East 1A elevated storage tank. It will be a 2.5 million gallon a day pump station with the pumps and motors and housing the electrical, the chlorine equipment, and also a backup generator. AP Water has received a Defense Economic Adjustment Assistance grant from the Texas Military Preparedness Commission for this project. And we received 2 bids for this project, ranging from 35.47% below the engineer's estimate to 6.30% above the engineer's estimate. And the highest rank offer is MGC Contractors, Inc. in the amount of $4,872,000. This is the summary year to date. We have awarded under this authorization 4 projects with award amount over above 8 million. And that concludes my presentation, and if you have any questions.
Are there any questions? Okay, motion to approve?
So moved. There's no motion on this item.
Oops.
Thank you.
Sorry. It's just an update.
Good morning. My name is Cecilia Bertoli. I am the Capital Improvement Program Manager for the utility. This is the Capital Improvements Program accomplishments. We bring this presentation to you every year in October, right before we're getting ready to start to talk about the budget for the next fiscal year. In this presentation, we highlight projects that are complete or will be completed by the end of the fiscal year. And these are just some project highlights. For the current fiscal year, between water, wastewater, and stormwater, we anticipate spending $622 million across the utilities I just mentioned, and categorized in reliability, growth, flood control, and modernization. So there's several projects that I'm just going to quickly highlight. Beginning with wells, annually 12 wells are selected for rehabilitation. The project includes the replacement of the pumps, the motors, controllers, and any related equipment. The East Side Reservoir had an emergency project that was created during this fiscal year. There was a leak that was detected. A contractor came in, rehabilitated the concrete walls, and installed a liner system to prevent any future leaks. Several reclaimed water storage tanks were rehabilitated. The interior and exterior coating on the seal tanks was replaced, and cathodic protection was added to the tanks. Okay, these are 2 booster stations for Westway. Some of the pumps and the pipe fittings were replaced in order to accommodate a larger tank that was installed in previous fiscal year. At the Canotillo booster station, the building that houses the chlorine supply system was expanded, and the entire chlorine supply system was replaced. These are 2 lift station related projects. The Mesa del Castillo lift station was demolished or decommissioned and replaced with an 8-inch gravity sewer line. The sewer line had enough depth and slope to move the water that the lift station was no longer necessary. In the second project, the Knowles and Prado lift stations were completely replaced, and the Mansfield was decommissioned for the same reason as the Mesa del Castillo. There was no longer a need for the lift station. Air release valves at various east side lift stations were replaced. And this is phase 1. The work will continue with phase 2. Planned water line replacement involved the replacement of water lines along 15 central streets These were pipelines with a history of breaks. There was an emergency project also created there was a leak at the Airway Boulevard. This project is still ongoing, but is estimated to be complete by the end of the fiscal year. The Sheraton 16-inch water line that runs parallel to US 54, it has been replaced. It was a cast iron water line. Okay, 54 non-operational valves citywide were replaced. We have an on-call contract with CSA Constructors where we assign them work via task orders to replace segments of pipes that again have a history of breaks. They do the work for both water and wastewater. There's a 30-inch Upper Valley wastewater or sewer line that was replaced. IBWC planned some improvements along the American Canal. We were asked to remove the pipeline. They went in and did their work, and we went in and replaced the pipeline. Phase 3 of Frontera Force Main. Is still ongoing, but it will be complete. It's estimated to be complete by the end of the fiscal year. And this is the part that will connect it to the Hickerson wastewater treatment plant. The treatment facility you see here has been installed at the Nevins and Crown Point reservoirs. This will reduce the level of disinfection byproducts in the water that result from the chlorination process. These two projects are at the Jonathan Rogers water treatment plant. Firstly, there was some structural improvements that were done in different process areas, and there was also replacement of associated equipment. On the second project involving the ponds, there's several ponds where the water moves through. There was some manual gates that were in place. This project modernized and automated the gate system. At various wastewater treatment plants, 480-volt electrical panels were replaced at Bustamante, Haskell, and Fred Hervey. And at Fred Hervey, this project is still ongoing, but there will be an alternative railroad crossing that will be used to access the plant. Now moving into projects that are growth related. The projects you see here for the Northeast Railroad and Franklin are all related to the Northeast Master Plan and will serve the growth in the area. These two projects were done in cooperation with the County of El Paso. We received a grant from the American Rescue Plan, and as a result of this project, the Tierra de Oro subdivision in the east side, there will be 37 homes with new water service. And in the area of Vinton, 1,100 homes will now have first-time water and wastewater services. Moving into flood control, the rock cages that you see here for the Silver Springs dams were damaged in a previous rain event and were replaced as part of this project. There were 2 ponds behind the Humane Society of El Paso and the City of El Paso Animal Services. This project combined the two ponds, increasing the capacity of the water that it can hold. Magnolia Pump and Saipan Pond also had some improvements. Magnolia is in the process of receiving a new debris basin that will allow the silt to settle and the water to continue. And then at both facilities, they're implementing measures to collect the trash that comes in with the rainwater. At Feather Lake, there are 2 dams, and there was some gates installed that will allow us to control the flow between the 2 areas. And there was a project to modernize the security and emergency response equipment that we use utility-wide. That includes the replacement of cameras, fire panels, radio systems, and access control panels. This project is ongoing and will continue with the phase 2 in the future. So those were the projects. Now about the dollars. In the current fiscal year, the budget for the CIP for water and wastewater is $592 million. We estimate that we will spend about $569 million of that, which is about 96% of the budget. For stormwater, the current budget is $66 million, and we anticipate spending $53 million, which is about 80% of that budget. And these tables are meant to show the activity that's still ongoing that actual expenditures don't show. As of August, when we prepared the presentation, we'd spent $183 million in water and wastewater, but there's also $965 million that is on POs. It's work that's in progress, that's committed to design firms, contractors, material suppliers. There's a lot of work that still is not showing up on the actual expenditures list. And then there's another set of activity that is not reflected. We have projects that are pending to bid that we estimate we still will bid before the end of the fiscal year. Same thing for stormwater. We've got $13 million completed to date as of August, $48 million committed to vendors, and another $50 million estimated to bid before the end of the fiscal year. And I'd like to thank, as part of this presentation, our partners who enable us to fund the projects utility-wide, and I'd also like to thank employees who help execute these projects. And with that, is there any questions?
I do have one quick question. You used a word called cathodic protection?
Yes.
What is that?
So it's I'm gonna call it a mechanism that uses electrical current to stop corrosion. I don't know if I did that justice. Yes?
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. So for the record, Cecilia Bertoli, I'm the Capital Improvement Program Manager for the utility. This presentation was prepared at your request. There was some questions that were brought up, I believe, in the August board meeting, and we're going to present to answer those questions for you. So here I have the definition of the CMAR. It's an alternative project delivery method where the construction manager comes in early in the design phase and is able to coordinate with the design firm and El Paso Water staff. The CMAR provides input on cost, schedule, and constructability, and then later delivers a project with a guaranteed maximum price. The CMAR is responsible for, is early on in the process to develop costs and schedules. They break up the project into packages, usually by trade. They're responsible for bidding those projects, those packages out. The bids are competitive and open and competitive. We have a link on our website where the interested vendors are able to go out to the contractor's website and they're able to bid. The CMAR evaluates those bids and then makes a recommendation to EP Water. So then it's those packages that come to the board that become the GMPs. We were asked to provide some information about the history and the growth of the CMAR at El Paso Water. So before FY 21-22, most of the projects were historically, traditionally design bid build. The number of projects that has increased in those 5 years because of the large, complex projects that come with greater technical risk. There was also a need to reduce borrowing costs, have better cash flows, and we also wanted to reduce the impact to rates. And then, of course, we needed projects to be delivered in a faster time frame. These are the current CMARs that are ongoing right now. There are 3 at Roberto Bustamante wastewater treatment plants. And most of these you're very familiar with because they've come to you for various GMPs and various actions. The one that is new is the Northeast Water and Wastewater Utility Improvements. That one, the RFP was released in September, and you should be coming to you in a future date for action. So these are the CMAR projects in terms of the budget or the CIP. This includes water, wastewater, and stormwater. In the current fiscal year, the CMAR estimates amount to $324 million, which equates to 49% of the budget. Now, in terms of actual expenditures, the percentages are pretty similar. For 25-26, the CMAR expenditures are estimated to total 45% of the budget. So as I mentioned before, the CMAR comes up with a cost model for each of the projects, and we track against that original estimate. You see these columns each time a GMP comes to you for approval. And in every instance, we're like right at that number or right below, except for the first one, which is the Bustamante Headworks projects. And in discussion with the engineers, it turns out that the cost model was developed pre-COVID. So we were over that original estimate. And then we were also asked about benefits, what these projects bring to the utility. I talked about the early collaboration between the El Paso Water, the design firm, and the contractor. There's a higher quality of design and construction and a reduced risk. We're able to identify material with long lead times and order them early. We're able to isolate big packages, enhance competition, and obtain better pricing. And there's also a single contractor coordinating the work on a large job site. Overlapping the design and construction phase accelerates project delivery, and there's financial certainty in the GMPs. We're able to spread out the cost and reduce impact to ratepayers. In a traditional project, we would have had to have had the entire funding up front before we award the project. The GMPs allow us to budget through various fiscal years, thus spreading the impact to customers and the rates. There was also a question about experience. The CMAR has brought in a lot of experience. Employees, we've learned through the years how to coordinate the CMAR. Vendors, local vendors are participating in the bidding. I think it took us a bit to kind of all learn how this works and how we move forward, but it's in terms of experience, I think these kind of projects have truly benefited us. Does anybody have any questions?
No question, just a comment on that I think we should think about some internal threshold not to exceed from a CapEx on CMAR. I absolutely get the benefit, and I've heard clearly the benefit, but if over time we can see that growth rate, eventually we may lose some internal tacit knowledge ability. So we probably want some internal, not to exceed 55, 60%, something like that, that we just all recognize that we're going to maintain our own capabilities.
Okay, thank you very much.
I have a question.
Yes.
Why does this lead to a higher quality of design?
Because the CMAR comes in during the time when the project is in design. And so they're able to work together to identify things that normally would have come up maybe later in the project when it was in construction.
Can you give an example of that?
Can somebody help me with
I'll
that?
give you a general example. So when the contractor and the designer work together, and the designer comes up with something, and then the contractor say, you know what, we've seen this in other designs, it doesn't work that well, so if you did this, change it in this way, it would work better. So that's the kind of work that they do.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, board members, Mr. Mayor. My name is Veronica Garcia. I'm the Senior Purchasing Agent. for the utility, and I'm here to present to you the purchasing card financial update as requested in a previous PSB meeting. Our strategic goal is infrastructure performance. Our purpose to make authorized utility purchases quickly and efficiently. The main uses of our P-card program is to streamline procurement for smaller, routine, emergency, as well as travel-related expenses. The benefits offer a faster, more efficient, and secure method for acquiring goods and services to support our operations. Here we have the authorized purchases, which include individual membership and professional license fees, subscriptions, as well as maintenance and repair, training, hardware and tools, office supplies, travel, and approved meals pursuant to the meal policy limit. Here are our P-card purchases from August 1st, 2024 to July 31st, 2025. We do have actively 304 P-cards, which our expenses run for 1.8 million during that time. Our top 5 categories are for purchases are maintenance, which are typically used for repair and replacement parts. Business services typically include office supplies. Our approved meals are usually used for our field workers and operations during emergency work and during after hours. For equipment and furniture, I would like to first make a comment that these category names have been set by our bank and not by AP Water. So typical purchases under this category include plumbing and heating parts for the most part. And under retail category, we do have a lot of instances where they are used for tire repair, as well as for plaques for employee awards. I would like to also add that most of these purchases are done through our local El Paso vendors. Here we have the P-card expenditures for the last 7 years, which have decreased by 38%, especially after the board approved in 2020 the master contract resolution to use cooperatives. And of course, we continue to work towards lowering these amounts as we enhance our communication with section heads to ensure that they are aware of the master contracts and purchase orders that are available for them to utilize for these purchases. Accountability continues to be our top priority. All purchases must comply with EP Water's P-card policy and procedures. Our routine audits ensure transparent and proper use of funds. So we do have a robust structure for purchases that are reviewed by internal staff, where supervisor reviews and approves transactions monthly. We have our periodic audits done by our finance staff and purchasing staff as well. We have internal audits for independent evaluation of internal controls, as well as external auditing for impartial third-party assurance of accountability. And with that, I conclude my presentation. I'm open to any questions you may have.
I have a question. Good morning, Veronica. Thank you. I appreciate the presentation. I have a question about the smaller routine purchases. You said most of those go to local vendors.
Yes.
Is it fair to say that most of those purchases for local vendors are with vendors that probably don't have a master contract?
Yes.
That maybe don't have whatever the technology or whatever other, maybe not technology, but that don't have a master contract, so that money stays in El Paso with a small business versus going to like a larger company.
That is correct.
Excellent, thank you.
Stephanie, if I could add a little detail. So I want to give you my assurance that sometimes you see in the news media P-cards, people going to Vegas and doing all sorts of things that you know, we don't have that problem here. We have layers of audits that's done, but I'm going to give you an example. So one time several years ago, Hector and I were in Washington, D.C. And so on my P-card, I charged the hotel, the airline, and then one meal. It was a dinner And so when we got back, like about 2 days later, our Duran called me up, John, you spent way too much on your dinner. So that's just to give an example of how things work. And he was dead serious, by the way.
You taking notes, Jeff?
John doesn't get to eat now.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, good morning. Christina Montoya, Communications and Marketing Manager. Good morning, Mayor and Board. I'm here to present to you the video for this month, and this is part of a series called Pipes in Progress, where we like to highlight a lot of our infrastructure projects that we're doing to create more community awareness about the improvements that we're doing. But also what's a little different about it is that we interview some of our project managers and let them really explain the project. And we feel like this gives the community a good idea of who we are, who makes up BP Water, who is behind a lot of these projects. But it also engages the employee and puts them out there and instills a sense of pride about what they've been working on. So this project is about the Yandell 24-inch water line replacement. Actually, I found out that it's not so much on Yandell, but it's on Tularosa. It's in central El Paso. It was a water line that had broken several times, so we replaced that water line at $3.6 million. So I'll let the video explain the rest. And we shot this video in-house with our video production team, but we utilized the services of Kay Harvey, which is our agency that we work with for many things, and they produced and edited the video. So here we go.
Right now we're at the Yandell 24-inch water main improvements replacement project. So what we're doing here is we're installing a new 24-inch water line tying off here at the intersection of Gateway Boulevard South and Tularosa, approximately 2,800 feet going towards Copia. This project would greatly benefit the residents and the businesses in this area by increasing reliability. I will minimize any main breaks or leaks that we've experienced in this area. Having to navigate near many or multiple existing utilities and coordinating with the local businesses and residents in this area made it challenging but also rewarding. To our ratepayers, I would like to emphasize that this project is a strategic investment in El Paso's future to modernize the infrastructure, reduce costs, and provide more reliable water services for generations to come.
All right, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions? Thank you.
Okay, yes, absolutely. And our video production team, again, did the video. I do want to say one thing. It is our team's chief, Lisa Rosendorf. It's her birthday today. So happy birthday, Lisa.
Consent agenda item number 9, public comment. The PSB will permit public comment on subjects not on the agenda, but may not deliberate on those items if not posted for discussion. The chair may impose reasonable time limits for each speaker. We don't have any speakers signed up to speak on it.
Thank you.
Consent, regular agenda item number 10, consider and approve an amendment to the construction manager at risk CMAR construction contract with PCL Sun, a joint venture for the Pure Water Center project, and accepted guaranteed maximum price number 6, GMP 6, in the amount of $62,869,367.
Oops. There we go. Good morning, Board. Ivan Hernandez, Engineering Division Manager. So this morning we have for you for consideration our GMP number 6 for our Pure Water Center. This project's purpose is for the construction of the Pure Water Center, which is aimed to increase our city's water supply, helping us meet our strategic goal of total water supply. The Pure Water Center will provide up to 10 million gallons per day of direct potable reuse water, making this one of the first facilities of its kind in our region. It is located adjacent to our Robert R. Bustamante wastewater treatment plant and our Jonathan Rogers water treatment plant. And it will take effluent from the secondary clarifiers from the Bustamante plant and purify it into drinking water quality standards. Construction on this project began in the summer of 2025 and is estimated at $331 million, supported by a $23 million United States Bureau of Reclamation grant. And El Paso Water is continuously actively pursuing additional grant fundings for this project and all projects. So this Pure Water Center is going to be delivered in multiple GMPs. The board has approved 5 previous GMPs. Up for consideration again today is GMP number 6, which is going to cover 17 different work packages that are essential for advancing the construction of this overall project. The GMP scope of work includes process mechanical equipment, waterproofing, fire stopping, sealants, buildings, and some concrete and site work of the project. Pursuant to Texas Government Code requirements, our CMAR PCL SUNT joint venture advertised all these comparative sealed proposals work packages. The CMAR team, Corolla, which is our design engineer, and El Paso Water received and evaluated these proposals to select the best value for each one of these different bid work packages. PCL SUNT joint venture then submitted a GMP number 6 proposal in the amount of just under $63 million. The proposal was reviewed by El Paso Water staff and our engineer of record, and staff recommends approval of this GMP number 6 in the amount of $62,869,367, which is 9.35% above our cost model estimate. Breaking down the overall cost model versus the GMP proposal, direct cost for this work, which is construction costs and purchasing of the process equipment, is just over $46 million. We're looking at about $10 million in contingencies and about under $6 million, or just about $6 million in bonds, insurance, and CMARS fees, which takes us to our $62 million price tag for this GMP. Looking at the overall construction cost for this project, our cost total estimates have this project completing at $296 million on the construction side. Again, we have awarded up to GMP number 5 and including GMP number 6, we're looking at awarding to date $232 million on the construction side. The project is tentatively scheduled for construction completion in late 2028, and with testing and commissioning of the facility leading into late 2029. Overall design or overall project cost for this project, including the design component, we have estimated at this project to be at around $331 million, of which, including today's GMP number 6, would total $266 million of overall awarded CMAR contracts. So with that, we ask that you approve the item as read into record, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
I have a question. Are we on track for not exceeding the total amount allotted for this project?
So that is the goal. Again, because we have our CMAR contractor on board with us, we look at any potential value engineering components. A lot of this cost that you saw today, or a portion of this cost, is contingency items. So if we don't use those items, then that money doesn't get spent and it gets turned back into our budget. So again, we're looking into value engineering, cost saving methods for the overall project.
Does anyone else have any questions? Okay. Thank you, Ivan. Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Regular agenda item number 11, consider and approve an amendment to the construction manager at risk CMAR construction contract with PCL SUNT, a joint venture, for the Roberto R. Bustamante wastewater treatment plant expansion and improvements project, and accept the guaranteed maximum price number 8, GMP 8, in the amount of $122,444,881.
Okay, so again, for the record, Ivan Hernandez, for consideration is GMP number 8 of our expansion project there at the Robert R. Bustamante wastewater treatment plant. The purpose of this project is to expand our treatment facility for growth and reliability, and helping us meet our strategic goal of infrastructure performance. This Bustamante wastewater treatment plant was originally designed for 39 million gallons per day treatment capacity. In 1991, began operations. However, this plant is currently at over 75% of our permitted capacity, which triggers our expansion by TCEQ rule. So this project is aimed at expanding this facility to 51 MGDs from the 39 that it was originally designed for. This project is being delivered in 2 phases using the construction manager at risk method. Phase 1 is the expansion component of it, which is adding the new treatment train, adding the capacity to this plant. And phase 2 would be rehabilitating the existing facility. Again, board has awarded 7 previous GMPs. This GMP number 8 would include scopes of works, including process equipment, mechanical piping, structural steel, and a concrete number 2. And we're calling it concrete number 2 because this is our second attempt at bidding and procuring this work package. So again, pursuant to Texas Government Code, the CMAR team, which is PCL Sunt joint venture, advertised competitive seal proposals for 5 different work packages. Again, a summary of those packages included sub-trades, process equipment, mechanical supply, structural steel, and our concrete package. Our CMAR team, our engineer of record, and El Paso Water received and evaluated these proposals to determine and select the best value for each one of these work packages. The CMAR team then developed GMP number 8 proposal in just under $123 million. Our engineer of record and El Paso Water staff evaluated this proposal and determined that the amount aligns with current industry standards and found that all proposals meet the requirements of this solicitations. El Paso Water staff recommends accepting this GMP amount in the amount of $122,444,881, which is 2.8% below our cost model estimate. Further breaking down the GMP number 8 cost, we have our construction cost just under, or at about $97.5 million, introduces also about $13 million in contingencies to the project, bringing again us to the GMP cost of $122 million. The overall cost summary for this phase 1, which is the expansion component of it, our cost model estimates have this project at $585 million. Including today's GMP number 8, we would have awarded $450 million of this for this phase 1 of the CMAR project. We are on track to meet our scheduled completion of August 2029 for this project. We also have other concurrent projects in this general campus. The Headworks expansion project, which is currently underway, which is one of our first CMARs that we procured, rehabilitating digesters 1, 2, and 3, and then Bustamante Phase 2 expansion. All are contributing to the overall improvements of this water campus. Total project cost, including the other projects that are ongoing concurrently, are estimated at just over $1.1 billion. To date, including GMP number 8, which is up for consideration today, and the ongoing work that is on different CMAR projects, we have awarded just under $600 million for these CMAR contracts. So with that, I ask that you approve the item as read into record, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
As far as the owner's contingency, I see it's not a percentage of the overall project as it differs from the last project. How do we approach the owner's contingency?
So it depends on the trades that are getting procured, and a lot of the contingencies that were built into this contract have to do with the volatile market condition, which is including tariffs, competing for labor, actual labor market within the other competing projects in the general area. So that's why it's not a consistent percentage per GMP award. It just varies depending on the.
So at the beginning of the project, if we have, just say X is the owner's contingency, and then we're releasing the GMPs, how are we moving that up and down throughout the life of the project? Is that guess it's a bigger question of how the owner's contingency moves through the GMPs based on the CMAR award.
So again, during our negotiations with our CMAR, these questions do come up and we negotiate the percentage amount. Again, we just want to make sure we get the best value for this GMP package, understanding all the risk and making sure those are accounted for. And you're right, it does vary from GMP package to GMP package. So it's not consistent based on different trades that we're trying to procure.
So hypothetically, this is actually a great example. Let's take this GMP 8, or let's take the last one we were looking at that was 9% over budget. So we exceed the budget, we eat into the owner's contingency, then when we release the next GMP, does that mean we've not authorized additional owner's contingency, or what would happen if we've already utilized the owner's contingency based on the original CMAR proposal?
So the goal for the team in general is to stay within the cost model estimate. So you're right, we use these contingencies to help us stay within that estimated price that we had been presenting to the board and making it at our goal, because we do budget for that funding for through the different fiscal years. So our goal, yes, you're right, sorry, is to maintain, and we use contingencies to help us stay within that range.
And then as we're moving through the GMPs, if we exceed the total project scope, that would then come back to the board.
Correct, yes.
Got it. Thank you.
Stephanie, if I could ask, I have a question based on the question you raised in the previous item. So Ivan, you mentioned about the concrete, and this is the second one. Can you explain why we decided to go ahead and rebid the concrete package?
So when we had received the first proposal in the previous GMP that we tried to procure, we only received one bidder, and that was substantially higher than our estimated cost. This time around, we received 3 different proposals. The one we selected, which is going to be self-performed by our PCL's Sun joint venture team, which are allowed through government statute, were the lowest ones from the 3 that we received. So current market conditions, we've seen overall through different projects that price of concrete has gone up, price of steel has gone up, which is impacting the dollar amount that we received.
So we do actively work to try to minimize any cost increase.
Correct.
Any other questions? Okay. Motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Regular agenda item number 12, consider and approve schedule for selection of PSB member in the area of consumer and citizen advocacy.
Okay, so as you're all aware, the PSB board terms are 4 years. And you can re-up for another 4 years, but in the way the process works with council approval, it's the same as if on your first term, so you have to go through the process again. So Stephanie's position, the consumer advocacy position, is up for renewal. And so the term, it actually, February, thank you, Claudia, end of February. So we have to start now to approve the schedule, and it goes through this set of dates. We've added some additional time in there because council has requested additional time to make sure that they have time to interview the candidates. And so we've set up the schedule for that with the idea that on January the 6th, the council would do the final approval. So we're asking for your approval for the schedule.
Any comments, questions? Does it look good, everyone?
We need a
Okay.
motion?
Do we need a motion on this? All right. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. And now I believe I have to call us into executive session.
Right.
All right. right, so the Public Service Board will retire into executive session pursuant to section 3.5 of the El Paso City Charter and the Texas Government Code, sections 55.1.071 through 551.089.
We just need a motion to move.
Sorry, motion to move.
Make a motion to adjourn into executive session.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, motion passes.
The Public Service Board will consider the following items in executive session. Item A, authority to negotiate the settlement of Savannah B. Olvera versus the City of El Paso, Texas, and the El Paso Water Utilities, cause number 2024 DCV 3795 under section 551.071. Item B, update on Texas versus New Mexico, pending in the Supreme Court of the United States number 141, original, under section 551.071. Item C, termination and settlement of a lease agreement with Del Valley Ranch Management LLC and Dan J. Enterprises LLC over approximately 12,562 acres of real property in Hudspeth County, Texas, under sections 551.071, 551.072. Item D, the board will deliberate regarding the purchase of the real property legally described as follows: 81 TSP 2 SEC 13 TNP Survey Southwest, City of El Paso County, Texas, under sections 551.071, 551.072, and 551.0761.
Everyone turn on your microphones, please. Do we have a motion to return to regular session, to our regular agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone saying no? All right, we're back into regular session. Do we have any motions from our executive session?
We do. For executive session, item A, I move to authorize the Office of the General Counsel to participate in the settlement negotiations to the extent and in accordance with the direction of the board and defend the interest of the utility in connection with this matter.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion passes.
For executive session, item C, I move to authorize the full lease termination and exercise the therein included cross-default provision to the extent of the board's direction and authorize the president, CEO, to accept a final settlement amount from Del Valley Ranch Management LLC and Dan J Enterprises LLC.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries.
For executive session, item D, I move that the president and CEO be authorized to negotiate and proceed with a lease to purchase agreement for the property in accordance with the terms and conditions specified by the board and to sign any and all documents necessary to complete such agreement.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion passes.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I would like to, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
No opposition? Motion passes. We are adjourned at 10:19 a.m.
Well done.
Ay, ay, ay. Guess I'm the one who needs to review Robert's rules.
Yes.
Now John has to